So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out to our president's training today. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve for some people, and I hope that you will get some information that you can take back and help your club be stronger. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to have introductions. We're going to go through the club president responsibilities. We're doing some meeting management. We're going to go over the club excellence program, and then we're going to look at building a vision for your club. Okay, so I'm Lyon Lunday. I'm a past district governor with District A12. I have been doing a bit of training this weekend, Friday and Saturday. I was working with a crew at the multiple district level doing the Regional Alliance Leadership Institute. Wow. And I volunteered to help facilitate today's session with club presidents training. So that's a little bit about myself. I have past District Governor Ruth Roberts with me, and I'll let her introduce herself. And then I'm just going to go across the screen as you are lined up on my page. So, line Ruth.
Thank you very much, past District Governor Len. Ruth Roberts. I'm with Victoria Harbour Lions Club. I'm a past district governor. I originally started my Lions entrance, I guess you could call it, back in Washington and British Columbia. The district out there is half and half. And I have done a lot of training, both with the Lions and with my job professionally. I participated in as many events as I could with the Lions, whether it was at the zone district or multiple district level, and moved out here in 2009. Looked forward to getting involved in the Lions out here, and I have to say, you guys are a really great bunch. So I enjoy the harbor and I enjoy A12, and I'm looking forward to participating a bit more again this year and next year. Back to you, Len.
Next, we have Dave Durant, a new person to become a president. He used to teach the class.
Thanks, Len. I'm Dave Durant with the Gravenhurst Lions Club. I am here because I decided I would take on the job as president again. It's my fourth go around, but my wife strongly suggested that I attend this because the first time I was president was in 82, 83, which was, if you've done the math, 40 years ago. The last time I was president was in 99, 2000, and that was 21 years ago. And things have probably changed. So that's why I'm here. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Dave. And Barb Ennis.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Barb Ennis from the Port Carling Lions Club. I was president in 2009. That was quite a while ago as well. I'm not on the docket to be president at this moment, but we have a few. We were really lucky in the last year or two. We've increased our club membership, so there's a lot of new Lions. And I just thought the more information you could have, the better. And I know that at some point in the near future, I may be putting my name in for president in the next couple of years. So I just thought it was an opportunity to be all caught up. So it's nice to see a couple of my club members online. here today, which is great. And we're going to have a great year. Thanks.
Thanks, Barb. And Jim Elliott.
Yes, good morning, we got that there. Good morning, everyone. It's Jim Elliott from the Elmville District Lions Club. Again, Barb, I've been president, but it was back in 2010. So I've been filling in different different positions. I'm also the bar steward, and I'm the guiding lion for the new Elmville Lioness Lions Club. And I need to get updated. Thank you.
And Mike Williams.
Well, good morning. Michael Williams from the Tottenham Lions Club. I'm a complete newbie compared to the guests so far. I haven't been a Lion quite 5 years yet, but I think moving forward, I'd like to kind of help guide the club a little bit better. And being exposed to these different seminars and webinars and experiences of people like on the screen here has been awesome. What first got me into the Lions was actually Les Stevens, as some people know. He got me into the dog guides. I was helping him out just with the dog guides for a couple of years, and then, but back then I barely knew what the Lion was, to be honest. And then he exposed me to the inner workings, and I saw the compassion and how passionate people were, honestly, about just helping others. And I know I wanted to be part of it. So that's it.
Thanks, Mike. Martin.
I'm Martin Weber. I'm part of the Port Carling Lions Club, and I thought I could use a little bit of updating and reviewing of this program. I have I guess this must have been about 30 years ago. I took a certificate course, which I have in goal setting and planning, and then used that to approach people who started entrepreneurship, their own little company, and this was in Burlington, where Aldershot Lions Club is. And then I moved up here and joined the Lions Club here. So, and I'm second VP next year. So I thought I'd get a little updated.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And Peter Kelly.
Oh, good morning. I'm Peter Kelly, and I'm even newbier than Mike Williams. I've been a member only 2 years. I was introduced to the Lions in Port Carling by our recently departed Byron Coker, who invited me to an innocent dinner, which evolved into all of this. So I love working with this group. I love what we're able to accomplish in the community. I've been a seasonal resident in Muskoka for 22 years and a permanent year-round resident in Port Carling for about almost 5 years. So a huge part of this is giving back to the community, and the Lions just provide the structure and the right attitude to get that done. So I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. Jan Rebdu.
Good morning. My name is Jen Rebedu. I'm from the Elmville District Lions Club. I am not in line to be president of our club next year. I am here as a support. I am in the position of second vice next year, as well as service chair in our club. I have served as just leaving the position. I think I have like 25 days left as cabinet secretary, and I've done public relations for both the district and the club level. So good morning.
Morning. Thanks, Jen, for coming. Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Heintzman. I'm president of the new Baxter Ward. We're not that new. This is our second year. We're almost coming into president of the Baxter Ward Lions Club, which is Honey Harbor, Port Severn, and Wabasheen members. I'm still learning. I haven't, Len and Ruth were instrumental in getting our club off the ground, but I still have a lot to learn about being president. So this is my second year, and I've still got lots to learn. So thank you for this.
Thanks for joining us too. Jocelyn.
Sorry, I had to tell kids to be quiet for a second. I'm Jocelyn. I'm from the Almaguin Highlands Lions Club, and I'm president, but I need the training, so I was excited to see it pop up, and here I am.
Well, thanks for joining us today. And Candy.
Hi, everybody. I'm incoming president of the Sunderidge Lions Club. Been a Lion for just 3 years. Was first VP for the last 2 years. But yeah, so I'm excited to learn some new things.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for sharing a little bit about yourself and your club. So we are going to get into our first section of today. Congratulations, you're going to become club president. And we will have some work for you to do while we're going through the modules today. So have some paper and pencil ready. So our objectives, completion of this section. You will be able to recognize the purpose of a Lions Club and its placement within the structure of Lions Clubs International. Summarize the responsibilities of club president and assess additional resources that you may need. As president, you'll lead your club in service activities, you'll be a support person, and you'll know about what's going on in your community and the surrounding areas. But you got to also remember that you're part of something much bigger than just your club. You're part of a district, a multiple district, and roughly 46,000 clubs around the world. Lions Clubs International is comprised of a large network. At the center of our club is our members, and then our club helps our members find need. And then our members contribute to what our club does and to what we need to develop, and the projects and the fundraisers and the activities of our club. So a little bit of structure of Lions Clubs International. Like I said, we have our club. We have a zone with 4 to 8 clubs. We have a region with 10 to 16 clubs. A district with at least 35 clubs. Then several districts is given a geographic area, which is a multiple district. And then each Lions is located in a constitution area, and ours is Canada. So that's a little bit of the general structure of Lions International from the club up to the national level. So you can see that our clubs and our members are the heart of our association. Without our members, we wouldn't be able to serve our community, and we would not be able to maintain our structure and our legacy that's been for the last 103 years. So we empower volunteers to serve their community, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs. That's our mission statement. It's pretty powerful, isn't it? Our purpose. You'll see a series of statements here. And sometimes we need to review these with our members just so that it reminds them of what we're about. So, to unite members in the bounds of friendship, good fellowship, and mutual understanding. Is this one of our purposes? Answers, anybody?
Yes.
Yes, this is one of our stated purposes. And please feel free to act with us or interact with us. The purpose of Lions Club is to encourage service-minded people to serve their community without personal financial reward, and to encourage efficiency and promote high ethical standards in commerce, industry, profession, public works, and private endeavors.
100%.
That would be a
yes.
yes.
100%.
Yes, this is again one of our purposes. Here's one more. To take an active interest in the civic, cultural, social, and moral welfare of the community.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Okay, those ones were easy, right? We all know that. Which one of the following is not a stated purpose of the Lions Club? To create and foster a spirit of understanding among the people of the world, to promote political leaders with support of mission of Lions Clubs, to promote the principles of good government and good citizenship, to provide a forum for the open discussion of all matters of public interest. So which one is not?
Promote political leaders.
Politicians.
No politics.
That is correct.
No
Good job.
politics, yes.
And then you can also review these in Article 2 of the Standard Constitution, or you can go to the Lions Clubs International webpage and hit our purposes, and it will, and type in Lions Clubs International purposes, and they will be shown there for you. So as president, you're the chief executive officer. You don't have absolute authority. Your job is to manage the meetings, make sure that the committees are doing their job, you know, work with your board of directors, work with your club members, and coordinate and make sure that you follow the guidelines of Lions Clubs International. So there's some more opportunities for some development of leadership skills. Lions Learning Center offers free online courses to assist members with leadership development. So you may want to consider the following online courses to do on your leisure. And what else will we do other than hopefully when we get allowed to travel and move around a bit, but while you're stuck at home, you might as well try and do a little extra learning. So the introduction to Lions leadership, writing your personal mission statement, goal settings, and effective teams. These are very good leadership development tools that are available through the Lions Learning Center. So when you log into My LCI, you go to the module that says learning, and then you can access these free training at your leisure. As club president, you shall preside at all club and board meetings, issue the call for regular and special meetings of the board of directors and the club, appoint committees for the club, ensure that regular elections are held, cooperate as an active member of the district governor's Advisory Committee of the Zone, or simply known as the Zone Meeting. It's important that our presidents attend our zone meetings because that's where a lot of information is shared, and your zone chairperson is your first contact for help. If you're looking for information, you should contact your zone chairperson, and if they can't answer, then they will ask for assistance from either the region chair or the vice district governor's team. And these never happen. There's never any disputes, but if they do happen, there's a dispute resolution guidelines. There's the club dispute resolution procedure, and there's a conflict resolution course on the Lions Learning Center. And past District Governor Jamie Jones has presented this at other trainings and in the past on our Lions Learning Weekends and our other Lions Learning webinars. And I believe those are available on our A12 Lions YouTube channel. So if you're having some issues and you need to get into the dispute resolution, conflict resolution, don't be afraid to contact past District Governor Jamie Jones, and he can help you walk through that process. Your most important asset in your club is your club secretary. And these are why. Follow up with action items in your meetings. They take your minutes. They file the reports. I'm sorry, club presidents, but the real boss is the secretary. If you have a great secretary and that secretary helps you stay on track, you're going to have a very successful year. Responsibility of the club president. Meeting issues and possible causes. So these are known facts that people leave Lions because we have lengthy, boring meetings. We have meetings that are in a location that aren't convenient or good to meet at. And our members sometimes forget about our meetings and don't stay in touch. So, possible solutions. Send out an agenda in advance to let people know that we're having a meeting. Follow the agenda. Have some interesting guest speakers come out. And with Zoom now, we can have people from anywhere in the world come to your meeting and communicate with you, and it's pretty free. You don't even have to give them a plane ticket. Okay. Meeting locations. Is it a safe place to be at? Can your members get in easily? Is it an acceptable place? Does it allow everyone to feel welcome? These are important things when you're looking at your meeting locations, when we get back to actually having physical meetings. But if you decide that you like the Zoom meeting and you want to continue with that, do. And then with our members, have people check up, have your membership chair form a committee of callers or people that just check in to see how people are doing. If you notice somebody hasn't been attending for a while, give them a quick call. But it's not always the president that has to do this. You're allowed to delegate and you're allowed to work with your team. Perhaps you have a system of buddies so that, 4 or 5 Lions take on the responsibility of contacting 5 Lions each, and then you can cover your whole club rather quickly and efficiently. atmosphere of the meeting is not friendly and sometimes tense. And some members, especially new Lions, are not involved. So it's going to be your responsibility to make sure that members don't interrupt the flow of the meeting, that it's not difficult, and that people somewhat behave. It's okay to have some fun at your meetings, but try to stay on track and try not to get off on tangents and follow the agenda. And then especially with your new members, get them involved, find what they're interested in, and give them duties. Ask them to take on a new project, find things that make them feel good. Just because your new member may be a banker, don't assume that they'll want to be the treasurer. They do that all day at work. They don't want to work with numbers probably in the evening, unless they want to do that. So as club president, there are two categories for committees. There's administrative committees and activity committees. What do we think some of the administrative committees would be? And please just throw some answers out there and I'll jot them down.
Finance.
Okay, anyone else?
Budgets, or maybe that's the same thing.
What was that? Sorry, Michael?
Budgets, but maybe that's
Budgets?
the same as financing. I'm not sure.
Well, it could be a subcommittee of the budget committee and the finance, under the finance committee, but budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Membership.
Membership. Okay.
Speakers at meetings.
Okay,
Elections.
so elections and meetings. So that would be meeting programs.
Yeah.
Programming.
Does that mean like visitations?
It could be part of the visitations. It could have, arranging for guest speakers to come in. It could be arranging for, a list of different things that you want to accomplish over your year in your meetings. So you may want to have a night where you have an open house that you invite members from the community in, or you're doing a presentation night or whatever, things like that. So those are great ideas. And okay, with some of the activity committees.
Site,
Again, sorry, what was that?
site,
Site? Yes.
site.
Fundraising.
Fundraising.
Fundraising in general, yeah.
Social media.
Camp liaisons.
Camps, yes.
All of our pillars.
Okay, so yes, our 5 global causes. And do we know what those are? A little test for everybody.
Vision, cancer, diabetes, environment, hunger.
Very good. Jocelyn, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry, I'm distracted. Someone stole my kid's bike.
Oh no.
Oh,
Sorry.
great.
no.
Well, we'll let you deal with that. Okay, so here's
Life-
another
life-
list.
Life
Thank-
happens, right?
Actually, so
Yes.
Life happens.
So some of the other suggested administration committees are Constitution and Bylaws, Leadership, Communication, Lions Information, Membership, Program, Information Technology, Finance, and Public Relations. So I think we covered some of those, and there's a couple extra ones that we added. And the activity committees. We've got our pillars, which are vision, hunger, environmental services, childhood cancer, diabetes, community service that's maybe specific to our own communities, the Lions camps that we support, Lions opportunities for youth, and international relations. So again, that's just some that are suggested. You can have more. And again, remember that it's your club, your way. So your club can decide what you want to do. And that's another very good document that you could use for helping with your club administration. Okay. Finding the right chairperson for a committee is important for several reasons. And they are, it makes your term as president more productive and efficient. The committees run smoothly. It allows members to use their skills and talents and allows members to develop more leadership development so that perhaps they may be the replacement or move into a second or first vice president role in the future. Elections. The president needs to appoint a nominating committee, which will submit names for the candidates for all club office at a nominating meeting, right? And hopefully this has all been done by now, probably back in March or early April. And we can always, if you need assistance, it's always good to look at the standard club constitution and bylaws in the election guidelines, right? And we have an excellent constitution and bylaws district chair in Lyon, Nancy Watt Durant. And I'm sure if you have some issues, if you were to contact her, she would be more than willing to help you with any questions you have on constitution and bylaws. So the district governor's advisory committee, the zone meeting, like we said, the zone chairperson, the club president, the club secretary, the membership chair, and the club service chairperson. They should all attend those meetings. And we've changed an A12 over the last few years, and we've gone to follow the model guide for the district governor advisory committee, where we're not looking for great big zone meetings with multiple people where discussions don't happen and it's just more of a social event. Although social events are always good to have because you can sometimes learn more at a social event than you can at a meeting. But we want our zone meetings to be more of a information share, a spot where if you're having problems that you can ask questions and have good intimate conversation with other club presidents, other secretaries, and other club executive from your zone along with the zone chairperson so that you can share your good stories and some of your lessons that may have been learned from some things that may not have went the way you wanted. So as club president, you'll work with the zone chairperson to ensure every club in your zone operates efficiently. It's a team, right? Each of the club presidents should be trying to help each other, develop, use the skills from each other. And we hope that you promote the attendance with your secretary and your membership chair And sometimes the treasurers get some information as well. So it's always good to promote the information to your club. As club president, you'll need to attend the district, multiple district and international conventions if you can. I'll encourage your members to attend our district convention, other inter-club visits, discuss ways of helping clubs that may need assistance. I know that the Bond Headlines Club were having some issues, so the Bradford Club and the Alliston Club and the Tottenham Club had helped them with some of their events so that they could carry them on. And through the pandemic, we've seen a lot of our clubs working together on projects to make sure that the public still sees the Lions doing activities and being, I guess the word would be a presence in their community. And then as president, you're going to promote various club functions, events, and I think we've covered those. So, and you know, it's always good to honor your hardworking members. So the zone meeting, there's going to be at least 3 of them, and we hope that when they get out there, you put them in your calendar, that you attend them, and we've gone through the exchanging of ideas. It may be a fundraiser that one of the clubs have done that your club may want to take on. It may be a real good service project that somebody's doing that you could duplicate and replicate and make it successful for your own club. And it gives you the opportunity to network and learn more about the Lions in your zone. So the Global Lions leadership team, the global membership team, and the global service team form the global action team. And we have some really good people that are working on these teams. Our global leadership team is past District Governor Jamie Jones. Our global membership team coordinator is Lion Ruth Roberts. And our global service team coordinator is Randy Hargrave. And these Lions are dedicated. They're there to help you. So if you're having issues in leadership or membership or service ideas, reach out to these Lions, and they have a team of people that work with them. And if they can't help you, they will find someone that can and develop a strategy to get you into the right location and hopefully move forward. So again, club presidents are not involved above the club. Clubs that are not involved above the club level often have untrained officers. So it's really important. I know not everyone has the ability to attend all the meetings, but if you can try to get out to some of our district events, like today, coming in and doing some club presidents training and encouraging your members of your club to take different trainings or visit different clubs. This helps your club grow, and it helps you to be a stronger Lion. Clubs that do not attend functions of the above the club level are usually, less likely to know what is happening outside of your own neighborhood. And Lions who don't attend annual conventions or trainings lose out on opportunities to grow. So why is it important that as club president that you should attend the zone meetings? And Candy, maybe you could answer that.
Just so you know what's going on out in the zone and you can bring it back to your members. And I'm sure there's lots of good ideas, things that you could try at your club.
Okay, good. So sharing ideas and learning from other clubs. Perfect. And Jen, what would you think would be a good reason to attend a district convention?
To network with other clubs, get information and announcements that might be pertinent to your zone or your region when you're out at a multiple district function or a district convention.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So Barb, what's your feeling on the new way that we do our zone meetings?
I think the new zone meetings are very important and constructive. Before it was great to see other people from different clubs in your zone and put a face to a name, or get a connection and network. But I really have found over the years that the smaller, more intimate, if you will, zone meetings, you come home with a lot more a lot more ideas, a lot better production, and you just come out of it a lot better, and you feel a little more connected too. So you don't feel uncomfortable to reach out to somebody. There's great discussion and great ideas that come out of these things.
Great, thank you for sharing.
If I can say one thing, Len, and in my case in particular, I had no idea how much I didn't know until I started getting exposed at a zone level, and then as for their learning weekends. I had no idea how much knowledge was out there and how much was available to Lions.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And you know what? It's okay to bring like a newer member out to these too, but let them know that it's going to be a pretty intense conversation, and it might be that the fourth zone meeting is more of a social event, or depends on how the zone chairperson plans their year. So there can be social events that happen, and that could be, and that's when we can get together in mass and come out and celebrate things like club milestones for 50th anniversaries or new club charters or things like that we can send a lot of Lions out together to meet the people. And when we had the Baxter Ward charter night, we had to do that virtually, so a lot of the members in the district haven't had the opportunity to go and visit Baxter Ward, and hopefully that changes soon, because I know, Beth, you'd love to have some Lions members come and visit your club and meet and discuss things with you guys, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we have members that haven't even met each other because we've never been able to meet together.
So
Everything's been virtual. So I think that's one thing that's really the sense of togetherness. We've had very few opportunities that we can get together. We can get in. We've done things fundraising with groups of 5, and it's a fabulous time. Yeah, but we've missed out on a lot of that togetherness, and teamwork kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we're going to move along now. So here's some ideas for getting yourself better prepared before you move into your job, right? Meet with the current president and discuss matters and issues that may be, that you may not be aware of. Okay, set some goals, review the blueprint for a stronger club. Review the club excellence program. Review the requirements for that club excellence program, and we are going to do that later today. It's a good guide for you to help plan your year. You're going to need to talk to your committee chair people to see who's going to stay on and who you're going to have to appoint. You're going to have to work with your treasurer and the finance committee to put together a budget. Hopefully you can use the same banking institution that you've used, so you don't have to go through all that and change. Establish and make sure that your club dues are at the right level so that you're collecting everything that you need to, and making sure that your club is in a good financial situation to move forward and that you can pay your bills when they come in on time. So you're going to conduct regular meetings, you're going to communicate frequently with your members. You're going to have your secretary deal with the correspondence if that works for your club. You're going to help your members select the service projects that your club's going to do. You're going to help your membership committee with the recruitment of members, because it's not just our membership committee's responsibility to recruit new members. It's all Lions' responsibility to recruit new members. You're going to attend the meetings at the zone level and at the district level. Hopefully you're going to encourage members from your club to attend the Lions learning programs, and you're going to hopefully have a good contingent of members from your club attend the district convention and celebrate the successes of the year. You're going to probably have a chance to review the monthly membership and activity reports that are done by your secretary and your service coordinator. And I hope that you encourage them to report the service that you do, because that's very important that as Lions, we report our service. And I know we're going to have some questions on why should we report our service. Lion Dave Durant, what do you think is a good reason for us to report our service?
So we can learn from each other's successes.
Yes.
So LCI know what we are doing, and it makes darn good international publicity when you hear of the millions of dollars that are raised every year and donated by the Lions.
Good. And that's a very good question to answer. And Martin, what do you think might be a good reason for us to report some of our service activities?
Again, if other people can learn what you've done, it may be appropriate to think about doing it in another district or another club. And because everybody's different and thinks differently and has some good ideas sometimes, and if that can't be projected out to other people or other clubs, then
Yes.
You're losing something very valuable.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Len?
good. Because go ahead.
Len?
Yes.
Jocelyn had her hand up.
Okay. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
I was just going to say it shows the global impact of Lions.
Okay, good. So thank you. Also, we have some global partners with the Carter Foundation and the Gates Foundation. So when we report that we've helped 25 million people with sight issues, that allows us to go to our global partners and leverage some financial aid from them so that we can do some of our projects, right? It's also good that, you know, when we track our service, we can go out to our own communities and we can brag a little bit about the work that we did to help with our fundraising and our membership goals as well, right? So if we want to let people know in our community what we've done, we can pull a report from My Lion that says we've done 37 service activities and we've helped 8,000 people on these activities. So it's good for you to help grow your club and for you to plan for the future.
It's always good to be accountable as well. And it can be a way with the members of the public hear about what we're doing through these activity reports. Then sometimes there's an interest and we can get new members as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So you're coming up and it's the end of your year. So now it's time for you to transition, not tradition, but transition. You may have some traditions, but you're going to transition next year's leadership team. You're going to assist the incoming president. You're going to talk and let them know what's going on. You're going to help guide them and help them prepare for their year. You're going to perhaps have a year-end recognition appreciation dinner where you recognize some of your hardworking members that have gone above and beyond. You know, you're going to maybe hand out some awards. You're going to do whatever, you know, your club traditionally does, or you may come up with something on yourself. And I'm not sure if you're aware of, but you know that if you give $100 to CNIB Lake Joseph, you can get an honorary night of Camp Joe for one of your club members and recognize the hard work that they've done. Or you can give $100 to the diabetes camp Puronda and have a honorary camp guardian. Or you can give some money to Lions Foundation of Canada and get a life membership. Or if your club's giving annually to the Lions Club International Foundation, there may be money sitting in an account that you can award a Melvin Jones Fellow. So these are ways that you can recognize the hardworking members of your club with funds that you're already donating to those organizations. Plan an installation night for the new executive that are coming in, and make sure that you invite someone that's going to make it a meaningful ceremony for them so that you can celebrate them as they start their new year off. And then again, don't forget to apply for the Club Excellence Award, and we will talk about that later on in the day. So some of the resources, there's the web pages, club officer orientation, the Global Action Team Toolbox, the Lions Learning Center, the Lions Club membership resources, managing a club. There's also the A12 website with several downloadable information. There's the Lions University training. There's YouTube channels that are just filled with Lions Club information videos. There's your district officers. There's your past club officers. So reach out and use the resources that are available to you. And as myself, I grew up in scouting and that. So part of my scouting training was to be wise in the use of your resources. So that also tends to be true as a Lions leader. So we need to be able to find those resources. And most of them are on the Lions website, but some of them you'll have to log into My Lion and go through the learning center there. And everyone can get a login for My Lion. You just need to have your membership ID, the email that you were set up with, and your name and birth date. So, have we met our objectives? Have we examined the purposes of your club and the importance of the position of the club president? Have we summarized the main responsibilities of a club president? And have you been given the resources that you may need if you want to further your education and your training and ways to make you a better club president? Did we meet those objectives? Peter? Yes? I see you nodding,
I think we did. Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
hit them all.
Okay. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Lion Ruth, and she's going to go over some meeting management techniques and but I guess first, maybe let's all stand up, get a little energy. I know Jocelyn, she's been chasing people over bicycles, so she's been up and about, but stand up, get a little stretch, shake a little bit, get the blood flowing so that we don't fall asleep. Do we need to have maybe a 2-minute bio break in case someone needs to powder their nose or grab
The input out
coffee?
break.
Yes. So maybe we will return at 10:10. That's good. If you need
Sounds
to go
good.
grab anything, or
I'm good.
you're good? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody need to go? Okay, I think we got a couple, so we'll take 5. Okay. Hopefully that was okay, Ruth.
Yes, it was. That
Just
was
kind
great.
of a general overview, right?
Yep, came across good. I'm going to do the Robert's Rules of Order first and then the effective meetings.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so it's all meeting management type stuff,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
yeah.
oh, good news. Jocelyn just said they found the bike a few homes away. Her name was written on it, so everything's good. And Len, if I could get you to just keep an eye on the chat, because once I share my screen, I'll probably lose sight of
Yeah,
that.
thank you for doing that. So
Not a problem.
This is a great day to do this. It's really muggy up here and it's really buggy. So it's a good indoor activity.
we must have had 1,000 caterpillars in our backyard yesterday.
Oh my gosh. That's
Jessica
incredible.
has a great big bucket because she's home for the weekend. She had a great big bucket. She was out in the pool while I was doing training all day yesterday. And
Oh,
she just
no.
had a bucket with water and soap. And anytime any came, she flipped them into the bucket. So,
Wow.
yeah. And we got
Yeah,
the
it
tape on our one tree.
could be a brutal August.
Yeah.
Was it duct tape?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll help.
So Len, are you seeing my shared screen?
Yes. The Zoom webinar housekeeping attendee participation.
Perfect.
So Ruth, I can't remember. Were we doing the straight 4 hours straight through, or were we going to break and have a lunch and then come back?
My understanding was we were going to have a break for lunch.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I couldn't remember what we had decided when our final.
2 and 2 is very nice.
Yes, so it's manageable. As PID Bruce used to always say, the mind can only absorb as much as the derriere can endure.
Oh,
That's
true.
true.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Beth is back or not.
She just wrote something in the chat, so I think she is, and it was a question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here.
how can I find more about awards for members? So
Okay, shall we get started then?
Yeah, Len had had mentioned about some of the
Okay. All right. One of the things that I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to ask questions, because I'm a firm believer there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that you don't ask. Because a lot of times you're sitting there thinking, oh, what did she mean by that? And somebody else is thinking the exact same thing. So if one of you don't say something and ask the question, then you're both going to go away without that information. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions when needed. You can also use the chat. I've asked Len to actually keep an eye on that for us. So hopefully we can go through that process of using the chat to answer questions or to bring up some additional points. Okay. So for this portion, what we're going to talk about is basically handling meetings. And we're going to talk about one of the processes that's really going to help that, and that's the Robert's Rules of Order. We'll discuss the what, the how, the when, everything that's sort of related to it in that respect. And we'll talk about other effective meeting tools that we can use, how to plan the meeting, how to control the meeting, how to review it afterwards as well. So before I actually get started, is there something specific that you're hoping to learn today on either one of those two subjects? And if there is, you can either unmute yourself to share or you can type it in the chat. So
I sort of have a question, Ruth. I mean, we want to do the Robert's rules, but we want to still have a little bit of flexibility in this today's environment, right?
Yes.
So
yes, with the Robert's rules, first of all, you need to recognize that as Lions, we use it as a guideline. There's an actual 3-week course you can take on how to.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're not going there. What we're basically going to cover are the basics of Robert's Rules of Order so that you have some understanding. I'll also give you some resources where you can, a name of a book that you can actually purchase. I think it's about $9 that you can pick it up for. And it has a lot of tools and tips in there for you to use that it's easy to use as well. But basically, yeah, we're going to talk about how we can use the Robert's Rules of Order within our clubs so that we can manage things much better. And we can use them, whether it's face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay. Hearing none, we'll continue on. The first question I want to ask all of you is, what are the rules, Robert's Rules of Order? What do you think they are? And anyone can answer.
Rules of conduct, priorities, scheduling.
Yeah, it's all of those things that really help us manage our meetings. Anybody else?
That's a guide. That's the guidelines for basically guidelines for parliamentary procedure.
Good.
So everybody
Yes,
gets
Dave.
a turn to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, you're right on. A lot of times we, sort of forget that while we're standing at the head table and we have, 30 sets of eyes on us. So we'll talk about what are some of the things that you can do when you need to use these Robert's Rules of Order. So basically, the official answer is that the Robert's Rules of Orders are actually a unique, simplified, common approach to rules that govern our discussion and actions when we're in a group. Robert's Rules of Orders came about from the British parliamentarian procedures, and they came to North America with the British in the 1800s. Thomas Jefferson drafted some rules. And then in 1876, General Henry Robert actually wrote the standard form of rules based upon the rules and practices of Congress. And that's why they're called the Robert's Rules of Order. So why do we need them? Why do we need Robert's Rules of Order?
To keep sort of a semblance of control and order within a meeting.
Absolutely, Barb, you're right. It helps us maintain that order that we really need. And as president, if you've been president before, you probably have had a time when you didn't have that and you needed to get it back. So again, we'll talk about some of those things as well.
Sometimes we need to calm down the very enthusiastic members that want to jump in at all moments.
Yeah, good. Oops, hold on here.
It allows us to conduct business in a relatively short period of time, which keeps our meetings relatively short.
Absolutely. And when should they be used? Well, I'll answer that one for you. They should be used at every meeting you handle, whether it's your business meeting, your dinner meeting, your executive meeting. You should be using the Robert's Rules of Order in any of those meetings because it will help you maintain that control. It will also help you follow the rights of Robert's Rules of Order. And when we talk about the rights of Robert's Rules of Order, it actually protects the rights of the majority, and that allows the majority to actually make the final decision for whatever discussion that you're having, whether it's to spend money or to take on a project. The majority of the vote are the ones that end up making the final decision. So it protects that. It also protects the rights of the minority so that even if you are a minority, you still get to be heard. You still have that opportunity to be part of the discussion when the discussion is being held. And as a minority, you still obviously get to vote. It also protects the rights of an individual. Sometimes an individual may be confused about the actual voting process or confused about what the actual motion means. So as an individual, that person can get clarification before the vote so that they are up to date and up to speed with everyone else on what it is that they want to cover. Now, as a president, you actually have some duties when it comes to your meeting. The first thing, and it's been raised a couple of times already, is to maintain order. So during the meeting, that is one of your jobs. You need to call the meeting to order and you need to make sure that all of your members are going to be treated equally when you're enforcing these rules. And something else that was said is being on time. Yes, you need to be on time. And I really strongly encourage that because you need to, oops. Can people hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
sounds fine.
Okay, good. I just wasn't sure if that mute was on or off. Sorry about that. So you need to be a role model when it comes to being on time. Your members will appreciate it if you show up early to a meeting so that if they do have a concern or a question they want to ask, they can. It gives you an opportunity to make sure that you meet and greet each of your members when they come. And it also helps set the tone that yes, you are a good role model and that you're early, you're on time. When you hit the gavel, it's because you're calling the meeting to order on time. And these things are important when you're trying to maintain that order. Your secretary has gone through some training, which really helped them understand the importance of an agenda. And please, as Len said, you know, your right-hand person in this particular case is your secretary. Len likes to say that it's actually the secretary who's the boss. Yeah, I'm going to ask that you share that responsibility. The two of you work together hand in hand.
Ruth, I do have one question regarding the agenda.
Mhm.
Is it up to the president to set the agenda, or does the secretary do the agenda based on their conversation with the president? Who sets?
Actually, when I was training the secretaries, I trained them that it was a joint process, that both the secretary and the president needed to work together on the agenda. Some presidents are more comfortable with the secretary doing a draft, sending it to them, and then the president would make changes. Others are more comfortable where they set the draft, send it to the secretary to make sure they haven't forgotten anything. The idea is talk to your secretaries, find out which way would work best for you, because both of you have input into it. And in times, some of your committee chairs are going to have some input as well, you know, when they have something that comes up and they need it added to the agenda. So it's really a joint project for both the president and the secretary. That's the healthiest way to do it, is for the both of you to work on it. Whether you start it and pass it to the secretary, or the secretary starts it and passes it to you, but basically you both need to be on the same page.
Thank you.
Okay. So when you have your agenda, we want you to stick to it. That will help you maintain that control. You need to be careful of the time. You need to make sure you're watching how much time has gone by. And you need to recognize that all of your members are volunteers. You're not paying them a salary to be there. They are volunteers. So to them, time is very important, because this is their discretionary time. You don't want to waste it. You need to be knowledgeable about these rules of Robert's Rules of Order, just the basics of them. You also need to be aware of the Constitution and bylaws for Lions International and for your club. With that knowledge, that will help you maintain that. And we'll go through some of those. During motions and discussions, it's your opportunity to actually maintain control. You need to make sure that debates don't get out of hand. You need to make sure, though, that everybody gets a fair chance to have a discussion. When motions are being discussed, it's your responsibility to make sure that everyone who wants to have a say has a say before somebody has their second say. Because a lot of times what will happen is one person will be really adamant about something in the discussion. You then recognize another person for them to stand up and have their say. Well, that first person wants to usually counteract whatever that second person says, and that's not the proper way. The proper way is to let everybody have their first say, and then if there's no one else, then you can have a second round. And that's fair, so that everybody, and then again, that's protecting the minority as well as the individual, so everyone gets to speak at least once before the discussion ends. Now, I talked about a resource. There is a book called Parliamentary Procedures at a Glance, and it was written by O. Garfield Jones. And the way he wrote it, it's really kind of handy. Very middle of the book, there is the section that allows you to jump to that section very easily. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can actually show it to you. Just give me a second here. Okay, so I'm going to try and get this so that you can see my book. Can you see it? And the sections are all listed, and there's page numbers. And the nice thing about it is when you decide to look up something, you just go to that section and flip it open, and there's all the information related to that particular subject. So if you want to talk about something else, you go to that section, flip it over, and everything you need to know is there again. So the book is really handy. It was a gift to me from my husband the first year I was president, and I kept it with me, and believe me, it was just such a great tool for me to have, because I was a little nervous about all of that information. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen.
It was like an ebook before there was ebooks.
Yeah. Okay, so. All right, so that book is a tool, and it's a nice handy tool. It's something that I ended up using. I also made sure that I passed it on to my vice president so that they could get prepared for their year when they became president. And it was something that, you know, made life a lot easier for a lot of us.
Excuse me, Ruth, could you give me a screenshot of that book again by who it's by?
Old Garfield Jones, and I will actually put the information in an email because I plan to send out a couple of handouts as well. So I will include the information in the email as to the book and the author.
Sounds like a handy book to have at your fingertips.
It is. It is. It worked miracles for me. It really did. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about obtaining the floor. As the chair of the meeting and president of the club, I'm assuming that you understand it's important when you are speaking that you be standing. You need to have that presence because that will help you in maintaining some of the control. When motions are made, you need to understand that there's a process that we need to go through, which I'll cover. And sometimes though, when you're going through your agenda, there's a particular thing that comes up and your members may not recognize that you are looking for a motion. So when that happens, don't be afraid to prompt them. All you need to do is you know, give them the indication of, we need a motion before we can go any further on this discussion, or we need a motion in order to make this happen. That will then prompt somebody in your club to move and then go through the actual process. So as a club president, you yourself are not allowed to actually make the motion to move it, second it. Or actually, you don't even get to vote on it unless it's a tie. You also need to recognize, so my little thing here is stopped. There we go. When you are dealing with a motion, you want to have that individual to stand or raise their hand and be recognized by you. Obviously, in a face-to-face meeting, you're going to get them to stand. In a virtual meeting, raising of the hand would be obviously the way to go, because once they stand, you can't see their head anymore, and that's not good. So you need to recognize your member by name. You need to make sure that if it's a virtual meeting, that they are unmuted. So you recognize them, you call on them to actually make their motion. You want to make sure that when someone is making a motion or during their portion of the discussion, that you don't have that individual interrupted. So it's up to you to make sure that any side conversations are stopped. You also want to make sure that someone else isn't trying to talk while they're talking. So you want to make sure it's clear, one person at a time, one conversation at a time, in order to help maintain that order. Now with motions, there's a formal purpose and a recommended course of action that the club's going to take. That's why you're having a motion. You want to make sure that everyone understands clearly that there is something that the club wants to do. You want to make it a formal proposal so that everybody gets an opportunity to discuss it and then to vote on it. A motion needs to be moved and seconded before you start the discussion. So often clubs will jump into the discussion stage right away. You really want to try and make sure that it's moved, second, then have your discussion. When the discussion's over, you can then call the question for the actual vote. There's three basic parts to a motion. What action is to be taken? What's the time frame or the dollar amount or something related to that particular action. And then you need to make sure you're also recording who moved and second that particular motion. We have 5 classes of motions. The 2 that you're going to hear about the most are the first 2. A main motion. That's the actual motion that is necessary to state the action that the club's going to take, details, which means date, time, amount, people, that sort of stuff. What you need to know is that you can only have 1 main motion on the floor at any time. The second one is what we call subsidiary motion, and a lot of people call them the amending motions. And this is allowing you to make some sort of change to the actual motion. It could be to postpone, it could be to, put it on the table for a specific time, to limit or extend the discussion, to actually refer it to another committee. So those are some of the amendments that you can actually make. The third one is the privilege motion. Adjourning a meeting is one of those. Asking the speaker of the motion to stand so that they can be heard is one. Or to ask visitors to remove themselves from the meeting before you actually deal with a motion is another one. Those are considered privilege motions. Incidental motions are the ones that a member may state to rise to a point of order or rise for information. If more information is needed before a member can truly feel comfortable making a vote, then that will take precedence over the main motion and needs to be dealt with before you go back to dealing with the main motion. A point of order could be when the chair makes a mistake. He forgets to ask for a seconder before the discussion starts, or a member at large who doesn't have voting privileges may try to move or second a particular motion. So those point of orders can come up. And again, they need to be dealt with before you go back to the main motion. And the 5th one is a motion that brings a question back before the club. So you may have tabled something and now's the time for it to come back. So you can actually make a motion to do that. I move that we take from the table motion such and such, whichever one it was that got tabled. So those are the 5 classes. So the main motion, you can only have 1 of. A subsidiary motion, which include making amendments and that sort of stuff, you can have up to 7. That's a lot. Most clubs don't ever go that far. So we have a couple of ways that you can sort of reduce that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Your privilege motion, again, like I say, it's more to help things go smoother by asking the speaker to stand up or asking visitors to leave. And your incidental are usually point of order style. So those are our 5 classes. The first 2 are the ones you're probably going to focus on the most. So when making a motion, no discussion should be handled until it's been made and seconded. Your motions need to be specific. And by that, I'm talking about you need to make sure it's really clear as to the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how. All of those things need to be clear so that when somebody goes to vote, they understand fully what they're voting on. This next one, the chair can restate the motion. A lot of times though, the motions might be a bit wordy and long, so it's hard to memorize it after the person has made that motion. So a lot of times we ask the secretary who's been documenting it as it's been set out to restate the motion. So whether the chair does it or the secretary does it, it's important that it gets restated before anything else. The motion is then debated, and you need to make sure as chair that you give everybody a turn to have their opportunity to stand and say something for or against the actual motion. And remember what I said, you need to let everybody have their first say before people start to get their second. And as chair, if you feel okay, everybody's sort of had their say, you can then ask for the question. What we're talking about when we say question, we're talking about asking all in favor and as to those opposed. Now, sometimes the membership is ready or trying to let you know they're ready for you to call the question. So you may hear the actual term, I call for the question, or question, they just say question. That means they want you to stop the discussion and actually call for the question, which is all those in favor. And then after counting those votes, those opposed. So it's something that you need to understand, to be aware of. Sometimes you're ready to call a question. Sometimes the membership's going to tell you they're ready for the vote. And that's how they do it. Once the vote has been done, it's up to you to actually announce the results and the effects so that people understand, okay, you know, it either passed or failed, and this is what it means for us. Okay. And as we said, there are times when motions need or will be amended. So the motion is on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Usually some of the discussion has taken place. Maybe as part of that discussion, somebody actually wants to make some changes. There are sometimes just informal changes, and that can be done very easy, where you just say, you know, all right, does the mover and the seconder agree to just changing that one word? And they both agree, so you just go ahead and carry on.
Ruth?
Yes.
It's Barb. Sometimes an example of that could be motions been made to spend $500 to some situation. And after the discussion, it becomes clear that maybe $1,000 would be better. And so that is how you amend that, just quickly to bump it from 500 to 1,000.
Yes, and that's a motion. If it's something that everybody agrees to very easily, it's a minor thing, so everybody agrees, then you can have a unanimous consent to modify. Most cases, though, if it's a significant enough of a change, you actually need to then go through the process of having a mover, a seconder, discuss the amendment, and then vote on it. If it passes, then the main motion can be dealt with at that point, because it's now considered an amended main motion. If it fails, then you just continue on with the way you were doing and ignore the proposed amendment. And another process that you can go through for amending is to refer it to a committee. Sometimes the motion is detailed, but you realize that, geez, you know, there's an awful lot of research that needs to be done before we can really vote on this properly. So you refer it to a committee. That committee is then expected, and hopefully you've given in the amendment a deadline, preferably, for them to come back to the club with some information, so that you can then take it from the table and then deal with it again. So referring to a committee sometimes is a really healthy thing to do if it's something that not everyone has enough information in which to comfortably vote. There are some rules to follow. You want to use the Robert's Rules of Order as a guideline. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is an actual 3-week course that you can take for this. And if you're going to be a politician, that would probably be a good thing to do. However, as a Lions organization, we use it as a guideline. So we stick with the basics, and we use it as a guideline to help us keep our meetings orderly, fair, and hopefully quick. So keep that in mind. Don't let the rules get you down. Yes, there are rules there. Like I said, there's 3 weeks worth of information. You don't need to worry about that. Just focus on the basics that we've covered, and that's enough to get you through your meetings. Close your debates by unanimous consent. Here, what I mean here is do allow everybody at least one turn to talk. If it sounds like things are still up in the air, by all means, do a second round if you need to, but just don't keep the discussion going for the sake of keeping the discussion going. You need to stay on track. You need to keep sticking to your agenda. You need to keep track of your time. So there's going to be times where you're going to have to say, we need to call an end to this discussion. So be prepared to do that when necessary. And if you can, use a counted vote whenever you're approving projects and money spent. What I mean by that is don't just allow the yays and nays and verbally go, okay, there was a lot of yays and a few nays. Actually count how many people are in favor, how many people are opposed. That way there, it's really clear that the project or the money was spent with the majority really ruling. And most of all, understand that no one person has all the answers. So there's going to be times when you're going to have to go back to that book. There's going to be times when if there is somebody in your club that is better acquainted with Robert's Rules of Orders, that may help. So don't feel that you have to know it all. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to share information in that regards. So before we actually move on to some of the other tips for meetings, are there any particular questions related to Robert's Rules of Order? Yeah, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself, either or.
It's Peter Kelly, and I just have a couple of comments. You did an excellent job with that. Thank you for that. I kind of live with Robert's Rules in about 75% of my life, and then occasionally when I'm tired or frustrated, I try to interject it around the dinner table at home just to put some order to conversation. Haven't had much success with that, but a couple of things just to kind of further what you have said. The key thing is, until people understand that it gives them a voice, that it's their tool to use as well, it can be seen as kind of a, I don't know what the word is, a prickly move for the leader to step up and say, I'm going to enforce everything according to Robert's Rules. The fact is, Robert's Rules works for everyone, and it gives a voice to those who otherwise stay silent. It gives an opportunity for people to gather their thoughts and express them clearly. So the more that people hear this story, read the book that you highlighted, also have a couple of kind of form manuals to Robert's Rules that have been really helpful. Presented incorrectly, it doesn't sit well with many people. Put practice consistently. That was my only other comment. If you're
Yes,
done on a consistent basis, can't done just when it suits you. It isn't your best friend that's speaking. How to be consistently across basic. You accomplish that, and you will learn this use of it. Once you accomplish that, everybody embrace it and value and else. But you did a good with it. Thank you.
okay. Peter, I'm losing you here and there. Your voice is starting to go in and out a little bit.
I'm done. I'll
But you're right. It is a tool for all members in the club. And at the beginning, when I talked about the rights, yes, there is the rights for the majority, the minority, but there's also rights for an individual. And, if, like I said, if somebody doesn't understand, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable, they're allowed to actually ask for clarification. Like, oh, hold on here. I don't understand. I need to know what exactly, does such and such mean? And so that they can get that clarification before the question is called. And it's important, you're right, that all the members know that. And maybe at one of your first meetings, you can share that information with them, to tell them not to be, you can use the exact wording that I used at the beginning of this training session. There's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that you don't use. So please, sure that you understand that you actually go through that process. So hopefully we can. So now I want to move on to some of the other tools that we have for effective meetings, which include planning, conducting, handling, and reviewing. When we talk about planning, we're talking about doing work in advance before each and every meeting. We want to make sure that you never go into a meeting unprepared. And that doesn't mean just 20 minutes before. We're talking like a couple of days before even, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. It's really great if you have a purpose for each meeting. We'd like you to make this is what I did during my year as president. I made a list from July to June. And beside each one, I listed activities that I was expecting to happen in each of those months. So obviously in March, I put down nominations. In April, I put elections. In December, I put our Christmas party. If I had a club activity that we did every year in the same month, then I would recorded that. That just helped me at a glance know some of the things that I needed to do in order to prepare. So when I look at something happening in November, I don't start dealing with it in November. I'm usually dealing with it in September or October. If it's an annual activity, such as a dance or something of that nature, and you have to book a hall, a lot of times those halls need to be booked at least a year in advance. So you need to look at all your months and try to plan ahead of time so that you're prepared and you're not caught off guard. So make that list, write down the activities you're expecting, and hopefully that will help keep you on track. You also may want to include the visits from your zone chair and your district governor. So again, your club can prepare for those. July and August are months that a lot of clubs don't meet. If you're one of those clubs, I'm going to strongly recommend that you still have executive meetings those months, because that is the ideal time for you and your board of directors to do your planning for the whole year. Take that opportunity to get input from them. Take that opportunity to share your goals, your ideas, get some information from them as well. Make sure it's a two-way street. And also your members, the actual members of your club have a lot of resources. Reach out to them, utilize their skills and their talents if you can. Find out how they feel about your club. We've got some really great booklets, and I know Len already referred to this one, Your Meeting Your Way. It's an opportunity to find out how your meetings feel about them. Are your meetings good meetings? Are they at the right location? All of those sort of things can get answered in that. And then use that feedback and share it with your members so that if you need to make some changes that you can. So part of the preparation for you is to also work with your club secretary. As I mentioned, there's that preparation work with the agenda that goes back and forth. Other preparations is, what's coming up next, what needs to be done in order to make them successful, and for you to follow up with your vice presidents to say, hey, vice president, have you checked with your committee chairs? Are they going to be presenting a report at the next meeting? Because if they are, you need to add that to your agenda as well. So do yourself some work. Don't get caught unprepared. And we talked about the agenda. This isn't an agenda per se, but just basically an order of business that you can use as a guideline. Obviously, you're going to want to call to order, and that's definitely when you need to use your gavel. Acceptance of the agenda, and there may be some changes. There may be some people that show up the meeting and go, by the way, we need to add something. So that will help you avoid any surprises when you start to discuss new business. acceptance of the minutes. And obviously you need to do that for your previous meeting. Your executive minutes is something that will be shared with the club strictly as information only. So you don't actually need a motion for that one. And the treasurer's report. Hopefully you've taught your treasurer to just give you a quick summary of where your club stands financially. If there's any bills to be paid, then obviously they need to present those, and a motion would be to be made and done so that you actually can vote on it. Correspondence, and there's usually quite a bit. So again, hopefully your secretary has been kind enough to open that letter or read that email and highlight the important parts of it so that it will quickly go through. So if your secretary didn't attend any of the training and they are not in the habit of doing that, this is something that, again, during that July, August meetings in the summer for your executives, that you can get them into the habit of doing that, asking them to highlight the important parts and summarize, not to read the whole correspondence, because sometimes we get correspondence that's like 5 and 6 pages long. And any unfinished business it needs to be addressed. Sometimes it's business arising from the minutes. And then you're going to have your new business. Again, there may be needs for some motions here if there's something that comes up that you need to deal with right away. And then, of course, to adjourn the actual meeting. So that's basically the typical order of business that can happen in a club.
Ruth,
Yes.
Barb, I have a question. So there's been lots of discussion in various places I've been about the adjournment. For years and years and years, one person made the motion to adjourn. Then all of a sudden there seemed to be this new wave of that you needed a seconder. Where are we with that? What is proper?
The understanding is the reason for the secondary. Once you have a motion and a secondary, no more business can be conducted. Once a motion's been made and seconded in the regards of an adjournment. That's, and again, the book, Garfield Jones' book, he goes into a bit more detail, but basically, if it's just an adjournment of a meeting where there was not a lot of business conducted, just saying adjourn, and that's usually good enough. Everybody agrees. But sometimes somebody will actually want a meeting adjourned. And if it's adjourned in second, and it's before the meeting normally closes, what they're trying to do is stop any other business from happening at that time. So it can be a powerful thing in a way. Dave, you've been around a long time and you've been involved. What's your comment on this?
Yeah, if there is a piece of business that somebody really urgently wants to have discussed, then it should have been put into the agenda on your step 2. And it could be it's time for adjournment of the meeting. And sometimes what I have found works is that you let the person make a statement of what they want to cover, but then it gives you a couple of weeks, and usually it's not that urgent that it has to be resolved tonight. So it gives you a couple of weeks to do some research into that, and then it can be on the agenda for the next meeting. So usually when it's an adjournment, especially if it's seconded, if I'm in the chair, I accept it. And again, it's what the majority of the club want. And if 18 people out of 19 put up their hands and say, yeah, I'm in favor of adjournment, then the meeting's adjourned. And if this person wants it to be on the business, then they should contact you and it would be on the next agenda.
Does that help, Barb?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very
Ruth,
much,
Ruth,
Dave.
I just have a quickie question, just
Mhm.
to differentiate in my own head, the unfinished business compared to the new business. Unfinished business would be basically business arising from the correspondence. We, like you said, we have to write a check, we have to get more information, blah, blah, blah. Could you give me more examples of what the new business means then?
New business is something that either could be arising from the correspondence. So say there was a request for funding for a particular camp, and at that particular time, nobody says anything. So the secretary puts it aside and keeps going with the other correspondence. So then when it comes to new business, somebody could say, like, I move that we actually consider, giving $500 to camp such and such. So that's where a motion comes from the new business. From the minutes, there could have been something where, how do I word it? So the minutes were read out. There was something that was left undone, I
Like a
guess
check.
is probably. Sorry?
Like a check writing or something, like you said.
Yeah, something that didn't get completed, and so you can consider it from the minutes. Sometimes it's a case where it got tabled to the next meeting, and so
The new
that's where you.
business, what you and Dave were just talking about, the new business, if somebody did not bring up something properly on that agenda, would that have been a time for them to bring it up? Would that be considered new business? Or it's still, because it wasn't on the agenda, it should be discussed in the next meeting?
Some clubs will allow it to happen right then and there.
So that's okay
So
then.
it's a brand new item. It's brought up. If if it's something that the club seems to be comfortable with, the chair can go ahead with it. If it's something that would need some research or whatever, then that's
So
when
we
it
say,
should be tabled to the next meeting.
The goal, if I may, should be that business is really handled by your committees. And the thing you don't want are 30 lions
yeah, I get that.
discussing whether we should be doing something, giving $500 to Camp David, because that's why you have committees. They could look into Camp David and see if they really, really need the money. So that would come up under new business, but then it would be essentially tabled so the committee could look at it, and then they could report next meeting at unfinished business.
So may I, if I could, maybe Mike, just to clarify things, those are actually just the unfinished business and the new business are just placeholders. So you may have items on your agenda
Right,
that
right,
carried from the previous meeting, like,
to further discuss.
so it could have been like the outcome of an event. So that may be unfinished business. So you may
Okay.
have had like the dog walk. So you may give an update on what's happening with the dog walk, and those would be items on your agenda under unfinished business, where the new business would be items that would be new coming up for discussion in the club, such as maybe a new fundraiser,
Coming up,
a new
right.
service project that you're going to have someone talk to as part of the fixed agenda, right? Is that
Yeah.
right, Ruth? Is that what you
Yep.
was the thing? Yeah. So this wouldn't be something just for anybody have new business that they want to discuss. That should have come up, like
That should
Dave
have
said,
come up, yeah, right.
with the acceptance or updating of the meeting agenda.
On some of the minutes, I've seen things like, does anyone have anything to say for the betterment of Lionism? Would that go in that category somewhere near the end of the meeting before you adjourn?
Most clubs will hold that type of a discussion at the very end. As an example, my home club, the president literally goes around the table and calls on each individual. Do you have anything you want to share with the club? And sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, I want to thank the club, for sending us a get well card when my wife was sick, or sometimes it's actual business that they bring up at that point. And again, if it's something that's a committee should be handling, then it gets referred to the committee. If it's something minor that we can deal with right then and there, then we do.
Then we do. Thank you, everybody.
And I guess it all depends on the management style that you're dealing with too, right? And what's customary for your club. So, right. So as the chairman of the chairperson of the meeting, you have a little bit of discretion, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like what you said, if it's minor, it can be dealt with right away, as long as it doesn't extend the meeting too long to the point where it becomes lengthy and boring to the other members, but either deal with it now if it's quick or put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
You know, so that item that, you know, anything better for the Betterment Alliance, it could be, could we have the executive look into what's happening at Lake Joe? And then they'll go off and do that, and, you know, something like that could happen, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So when we start talking about actually conducting the meeting, the first one is obviously something we've mentioned a couple of times: start on time. We expect you to be a role model in that regard. So it's up to you to set that tone, set that pace where you're there on time, you start on time, and you keep everything moving according to the agenda. So as a role model, you need to practice that. There are some do's and don'ts as well. I'd like to ask the group if there's anybody that has a particular don't that happens in their club that they really wish didn't.
Interrupting people when they're talking, very disrespectful.
Yeah.
It happens very seldom in our club because we've made it a point to deal with it, but big don't for me, very disrespectful.
Okay, anybody else?
Side conversations while the president's trying to speak.
Yeah, that's a biggie for a lot of clubs. Anyone else?
Don't say no. Well, not no right away anyways, before hearing it out.
Michael, I'd like to go back to your comment about the interruption, and you said your club has dealt with it. How did you help your club sort of deal with that?
Well, we made it a point of saying, not embarrassing anybody, but saying, look, it is very disrespectful. Please respect the person's individual time. That's why I thought, I mean, this year, not so much because of Zoom, but last year, I made it a point that everybody had to stand properly. The person standing had the floor. The side conversation interrupting was very disrespectful, and we asked them not to do it. But having the person stand so that it was obvious who had the floor was what we did.
Good. That's a good way of doing it. And again, it allows everybody an opportunity when their time comes not to be interrupted. That's great. And Barb, was there anything in particular your club did to stop the side conversations?
No.
Okay, one of the things that I had to do in my club, when I was president, it was an all-female club, so there was a lot of discussion. And what I did during my July board meeting is I asked the board members to do me two favors. One, not to sit together, to spread themselves out around the room where the members were. And secondly, when a side conversation did take place while I was speaking or a guest speaker was speaking or somebody had the floor, was for them to just very quietly, and unobtrusive as possible, put their hand on the person's shoulder that's doing the talking. And eye contact, have eye contact with the person, touch their shoulder, just sort of shake their head a little bit and then let go and then concentrate on the meeting again. We did that enough times that people started to recognize as soon as they saw someone's hand start to raise, they shut up. So it did help, but I needed the board's cooperation to do that because I couldn't get up and do it without causing more of a disruption. So it was something that we tried and it did seem to work. Sometimes we had to remind people, but for the most part, it was pretty good. So it's something for you to think about. Okay, some of the other do's and don'ts. Well, for don't, I'm going to ask you not to overuse your gong. Sometimes that can be really annoying. And if you're not the type of person that's comfortable telling jokes, then don't do it because you can actually create some problems doing that. If you invite a guest to a meeting, please don't charge them for the meal. And never, ever take advantage of the fact that you're in the chair. As Len said at the beginning, as president, your job is to run the meeting. It's not to run the club. There's a difference there. For do's, stand when you're speaking. Keep the meeting moving according to your agenda. Have the secretary summarize correspondence. And as we heard earlier, encourage club members to stand when they're addressing the club. When we talk about handling, meetings don't always go the way we plan sometimes, as much as we put some preparation into it. However, we can still deal with some of these situations. We said it's important to keep control of the meeting. Use your Robert's Rules of Order to do that. Use your agenda to do that. Use your posture of standing when you're speaking to help you do that. Please do not ignore any personal insults to any member or guest. If someone personally insults a member or guest, you need to deal with it. You need to remind everyone that it's okay to criticize an idea, but never the person. If necessary, call for a recess and speak to the individuals that are involved. But you need to address it. You don't want that to become a habit in your club. Now with cliques, they could be either good or bad. I've seen some clubs that had some really good ones. And by that, I mean they were a clique of people that were willing to take on projects. They were the ones that were willing to assess other people when they needed, and they welcomed anybody to join their clique. The bad ones usually don't welcome other people, and they usually show negative aspects of people.
Often with a clique, I'm thinking about dinner meetings. When we were meeting in person, I made it a point to try to sit with different people at every meeting. And it just, it gave variety and great conversation during the meal. And I think it helped that, A and B didn't always sit together all the time.
Yes. In fact, you can use your tail twister to help you with that. I know some clubs will actually hand a person a number, and that number is the table number that they're to sit at. And by doing that and doing it randomly, hopefully every dinner meeting, it's a different table for them so that they're sitting with different people. You can also use a deck of cards or 2 decks of cards. Put the numbers on one table and have the other one in your hand and hand those out, so they have to go find their seat and sit there. So it's an opportunity to try and mix some things up. We also hope that you encourage teamwork and try to really encourage people to accept a healthy work ethic when working with other people. Now, with long-winded members, and for some reason or another, PDGs sort of get tagged with that. I don't know why, but we do. With long-winded members, they can be very disruptive sometimes, where they're taking up either too much of your agenda, so you run out of time and you don't have time to address some of the other stuff, or worse still, they end up boring your members so that your members stop listening and stop paying attention. Again, you can rely on your Robert's Rules of Order if this is ongoing during motions where discussions are taking place and it doesn't really relate to the matter, then you need to call a point of order on that. You can also use your board members to assist with you in pointing out that somebody is going on a little too long and they need to quickly summarize. So ask your board members to help you in that regard so that they are actually dealing with some of the issues with you so that you've got some support out there in the audience and not just trying to do it all yourself. So that teamwork is the really key in that respect. And oops, reviewing. During the meeting, when you're actually holding a meeting, especially the first few at the beginning, I want you to really stop after the meeting and think to yourself, how did that go? How well was that meeting run? And quickly make some notes as to what you thought did well and what you could improve on. Then I'm going to ask you to actually talk to your vice presidents and ask them for some honest feedback. So please do that. Get the feedback, listen to it. Don't respond to it. Just comment or write down what they commented and deal with it later, because the automatic instinct is to defend yourself. Don't do that, because then you won't take in the lesson. And don't wait until the night before to, get prepared for your meeting and to do some of the follow-up. Some of that follow-up needs to be done days in advance in order to give the person who you're reminding that they have a report to give or whatever, that it's time for them to do that. So, as a quick review, we talked about the effective meetings, how to plan, control, and handle meetings. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
One thing that I've always done that I found very useful is when the guests are introduced. So we have Sam and George here tonight. At the very end of the meeting, then you thank the Lions for attending, and you thank Sam and George for attending the meeting as well. Just make a note of their names as they're being introduced, and at the end of the meeting, make a note of thanking them for coming. Don't call them prospective members, because that can be very high pressure, but just simply thank them for being there. I always thought was a very, very nice touch.
That's true. And it's just a common courtesy that we should all follow. Any other questions, comments?
Good point, Dave. We don't want to scare those people away, because they may just have been invited for dinner and now all of a sudden they're a prospective member. Yikes, I'm getting for the door.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to Len then, if there's no other comments or questions. Len, it's all yours.
Okay, so thank you. That's been 2 hours, and we're going to, I think, Ruth, you had an excellent presentation there. We've had some good input from all of the participants so far. And how do you feel things have gone this morning? Just we'll go through everyone that's online right now with us. Have we been able to provide you some needed information that will be successful?
100%. I'm not saying I feel overwhelmed, but I am more aware of just how much knowledge and how much is out there that I need to learn. But so far, the first two presentations, I think you guys absolutely awesome. Great presentation, great content.
Okay, and yes, Candy's put in the chat, great content. So thank you. Beth thanked you, Ruth, for that was very helpful. Okay, so right, so things we got to remember is that we are here to facilitate the meetings, to look after running the meetings, and that our club is going to, and our members are going to look after running our club, right? We need all the input from all our members. We need to make sure that we are inclusive of our members, that we try to diversify our membership with a reflection of our community, And we're going to take a lunch break and come back. I believe we were scheduled for 1:30. Is that correct, Ruth?
I thought it was 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. It does, whatever works fine. If we'll go with the majority here. 1 o'clock, is that fine if we come back from lunch at that time?
Raise your hand if you agree.
Okay, so we'll re-adjourn at 1 p.m. and we arranged for a catered lunch to be delivered to your house. If it's not there, try to blame Jamie Jones, our global leadership chair. Okay, so if you don't see it within 5 minutes, you may have to make something. Okay,
Thank you.
so Ruth, we may need some breakout rooms for this afternoon just to work. So if we could have that ready to set up in case we are there. So it may be easier to do a couple of the sessions in some breakout rooms. And if we could try and do maybe 2 breakout rooms with members of different clubs so we're not in the same groups, that would be good. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds-
So thank you for your participation. Enjoy a little bit of a break, get some fresh air, and have a good lunch, everyone.
All righty.
Jocelyn's just coming in.